Okay.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. As part of the World Autism Awareness Month, we are celebrating Autism Inclusion Month in the special series throughout the month of April. And today, my guest is Dr. Heidi Ham. She is a TED Talk speaker, neurodiversity catalyst, chief empowerment officer at Spectrum Fusion, and adjunct professor at Rice University. But more importantly, Heidi and her team use creative and innovative approaches to empower adults on the autism spectrum to break barriers and contribute to the society. Heidi, Dr. Heidi, welcome to this show. And
Thank
thank
you
you
so
for
much.
joining.
I'm
Great.
so
Dr. Heidi, I know you have this amazing global, diverse experience working with people on the spectrum in various countries, research and innovation and creativity. So tell us a little bit about your, diverse experience working, truly globally with people on the spectrum.
Well, I started out working as a speech pathologist, and I'll never forget the first little boy that I worked with in Chicago. So this is before I even went back for my PhD or anything. And he was so creative and amazing. And but I remember they said, "You'll just sit down and then just give him a reward every time he says something." And that actually worked for like 2 seconds. And I thought, I'm going to do something completely different. So anyway, I was working with him, and then I became a clinical supervisor at University of Houston, and I could see how individuals weren't necessarily, especially if they were older and nonverbal, they weren't being given an opportunity. So I wanted to go back for my PhD, and I moved to Scotland after living in London so that I could really understand more about the underlying neurocognitive functioning of these individuals and then make a difference. And I wanted to come back and do something that would change their lives and make an impact. And then after I moved away from Scotland, I moved to Nigeria. So that was quite a cultural shock. But I was working with an organization there called Autism Associates, and they were doing their best to really help and empower these families that really didn't have any opportunities for services or anything. And so I worked with them, and I was on national Nigerian television where they had to have an AK-47, and I had to be in an armored vehicle to get off the island to go to this event. But anyway, then from there, I moved to Australia, where I worked at University of Queensland in the Department of Health and Sciences and Rehabilitation, and I was a assistant professor, which they call lecturer there, and I conducted research, and I was doing my regular teaching load. But then by the time that I moved to Perth, Western Australia, I was doing some teaching there and working at Curtin University with their focus groups. But these families were desperate. And so by this time, I'd heard these same stories from families around the world. And they would say, what's going to happen to my child? They're now an adult. They're now 20. They're now 30. What are you doing for research that's going to help me today? And so, that is very difficult to, recruit for a study. And then they're saying, but my child's not getting out of the room, and now, he's 25. So I thought, okay, I have to do something different that's creative. And that's when I launched Spectrum Fusion as a pilot project in Australia, and where it was a community-based approach where we used each other's talents.
Excellent. Amazing. So every part or every step of the way your create, it reflects your creativity, out of box thinking. And thank you for that creativity and really your contribution globally to the autism community. So we thank you for that. Now, talking about your own creativity, and on the other side, creativity of the talent you are working with, neurodiverse talent. How do you tap into this creative talent on the spectrum and bring the best out of this talent, amazing talent you are working with?
Well, I think we have a very special situation where we're also a community, and so we spend time together. This is something very important. So before COVID, we had lots of events and really building that trust. And so to have a psychologically safe community where people can say, oh, I always had this idea for an invention. Will you listen to me? Or I have this idea for a story. But if they don't feel like, that you will laugh at them or that it will be minimized, because creativity is a powerful strength and asset, and really it's sought after around the world. But sadly, many of these individuals have been told that it's nothing more than a mere hobby. Don't spend your time drawing, or don't spend your time, creating videos. You'll never get anywhere. And so that's where, and I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but that's really how this all started, because yes, it's difficult for one person to be a script writer and go out into the world, or somebody to be a voiceover artist. Yeah, that's almost impossible. But if we have a media team where everybody can use their strengths and talents to not only help each other, empower each other, which we do through our showcase platforms, which I can talk about later, but also to empower and create valuable deliverables to companies around the world, that is, really a game changer. And that's what we're doing. And we're the only organization I know doing this. And I'm excited about it.
No, I'm very much familiar with your program and some amazing work you do. So I 100% agree. Creativity is all about how we collaborate, we coordinate, and we leverage each other's strength and each other's imagination. And it's like it's a building blocks. And once you do that, then the final picture is just amazing. In fact, I have personally seen some of the great work your team has been doing and working with. So tell us a little bit more about Spectrum Fusion and Factor Room, if you don't mind, and how through this model, how you're really nurturing their ideas. I think that's what the whole core concept behind all
Yeah.
your work is. So how do you do that using your programs?
So, and I won't go into all of the stats because I think your listeners probably understand about the, the rates of unemployment, 80%, individuals are underemployed, unemployed. So, but it's very difficult to go through that traditional interview process or, have these connections for new opportunities. So actually in Australia, this is how the idea of the Reactor Room started, where it's about harnessing the power and the energy of community and collaboration and bringing these ideas together, bringing connections so that these individuals actually have valuable experience to even put on their resumes or CVs. Because even if they have degrees, many of them weren't even provided an opportunity for an internship. So we even start there. So the Reactor Room, we provide this opportunity where there's an event. So there's a program where we work with them. And in the beginning, we help to really understand like where they want to go, what are the necessary barriers that need to be overcome to get to that next level. We have assessments and we look at the strengths based there. And then from there, we hone their pitch to the Reactor Room, which is not a Shark Tank per se, because it's kinder and gentler, but basically they have an ask, what do they need? And then we create a panel just for them of entrepreneurs, business leaders, community connectors, individuals knowledgeable about their area of interest. And then they provide connections, and then we walk through, and then they lead to new opportunities and ultimately new outcomes. So somebody may have a degree in they may have a degree in, okay, just stand up, I'll tell you everything, okay. In, writing or journalism, but not be able to get a job, or have a degree in forensic psychology, for example, and not be able to find anything, or have an idea for an invention. And so this is where then we can walk out these and move forward.
Now that is so amazing how you are truly working with this talent and helping them. And I know we have a surprise guest who will be coming.
Yes, we have two of them.
Two surprise guests.
And I'm excited to come.
Yes, I'm also excited, but I think if we can invite them maybe after 10 minutes, around 12:20 estimate. So that would be great. So we still have 10 minutes. We'll talk and we'll surprise our audience with some great conversation and their experience.
Yes.
So moving along with this topic of working with individuals, job seekers on the autism spectrum, what is your vision once they go through this amazing program? What is your vision for the job seekers on the spectrum through this journey of learning?
So what is my reason?
Vision. So how do you see them growing and getting into?
So, this is, the traditional approach would be, okay, we have this job and we have somebody who has A, B, C, D, and we need to get you into that role and train you to be that. But we have people who they're amazing at X or they're amazing at Q. And so, how can we use that and then be able to connect them to the right people so that they can have opportunities to do that? And so we turn that upside down. And so we create these showcase platforms where we show their gifts, their talents, their strengths, and we create intro videos. Then we have links to their portfolio, links to testimonials about them, links to their website if they have one. And then that way people can start, and of course their CV and, their bio. But that way they can present to the world who they are and what they are. And so my vision would be that there would be alternative pathways for individuals to be able to pursue outside of these traditional systems that, interviews, I'm sure many of you know, I mean, what are they really assessing? It's a lot of, it could be biographical memory, autobiographical memory. It could be free recall, working memory. It could be abstract language. So there's many, many other components that you're assessing in that interview other than really what they can offer and what they can do.
What is their true abilities? Yes, and their strength. I agree 100%. As a workforce solution company, we are having this conversation almost every hour, every day with employer partners, and they understand, they have started, and that's what we talk about, autism awareness and awareness to acceptance. That is really truly, as we speak, it is happening, and that's what we would like to, as part of that celebration. I'm really thankful for this conversation and you coming to us and on this platform and sharing your thoughts. So let me change gears a little bit, talking about the talent and then how the organization and the autism community. My next question is how important it is for organizations to collaborate with each other to create more work opportunities for neurodivergent individuals. You mentioned something, but then now how do we collaborate and how do we expand this horizon of opportunities for people on the spectrum?
Well, I believe this is imperative. I really feel that this is so important because not only does it, show that what we can do if we come together and really create an impact, but that every organization has their unique gifts and talents just as individuals do. And so, for example, we have the creative aspects, and now we're working together with Rangam, and we're really excited about that because we're going to be creating some short videos for Source-abled and Source Pros that will then, I think, for the job seekers to recruit them and to get them, I guess, know about the jobs that are available. But see, this is perfect because this is something that we can do together. And so it's not, and I think sometimes people will say, oh, that's a good idea. I'll start that on my own. Okay, that's a good idea. We'll do that too. Instead of saying you're doing that, and there's not one organization that can meet all the needs. I always say that. And so I think what we're doing can work with employment so well and work with Rangam and Source-abled. We're really, really excited about it. And then, of course, our participants who are creating these videos, they're absolutely thrilled about it. And they already started practicing.
And same at Rangam also. The entire Rangam team is really looking forward for these amazing videos. And a little bit about this project is, in our staffing world, when we go out and pitch our requirements or share our requirements to job seekers, it's not, there is no creativity, and we are kind of out of creativity. And that's where we reached out to you and we said, how can we partner and build some content and make it interesting and fun? And tell me a little bit about creativity and fun. You mentioned that how important that creativity at work is why it is important. You mentioned something earlier.
Well, interestingly, when we talk about from an industrial psychology point of view, we always talk about creativity and neurodiverse teams and bringing a different perspective and how that can solve problems. But there's other avenues of creativity that we don't often think about. And one is that when we have communities that are creative and jobs, workplaces that are creative, creativity actually helps our own well-being and provides different ways that we can be creative and alternative methods to help with stress reduction, or it just helps with being able to not have just one pathway for depression or anxiety. So there's studies to show that. And then the other is that humor and creativity. So supervisors, leaders, mentors who use humor, they've been found to be that their participants, that they are more satisfied in those roles, that they feel more, that builds trust. And, people, that's a myth that individuals on the spectrum aren't funny or they don't have humor, because they do, and they might not all have the same kind of humor. And maybe not one person likes puns, but one person will love puns, or they're witty, so we actually, if you want to go to, they'll see our April Fool's Day video that they put together. So that shows that they actually have humor. But the humor is very important, and it builds morale. And then, as I was saying, if we have a really tough project and we've been doing something more business related, when we say, okay, let's just have a creative week, or let's start working on our scripts again, you can just feel, that everybody's, laughing and we're happy, and, it just builds morale and helps with resilience, and then being able to go back into doing something, difficult again. So, you need that levity, but it actually, there's science behind it. It's not just that, oh, we like to, have fun. No, there's actual science behind the humor and how that builds trust.
Yeah, no, that is so beautiful, and thank you for sharing, because some of our employer partners, when they are listening to this conversation, we want them to learn and understand, and I'm learning right now from you how creativity, and there is a science behind the creativity and fun at workplace. So any other advice to the employers who is listening to this and who is interested in ramping up their autism hiring efforts? As you know, a lot of leaders now, they are putting dedicated efforts in ramping up these programs. So any other advice for those employees?
Well, I would really encourage everyone to understand the motives behind why they're ramping it up. So is it that they believe in neurodiversity? They want to extend their diversity programs? Is it that they believe it's the right thing to do? Because just doing it to tick that box isn't as effective, because then often what it leads to is diversity, where, okay, we have these individuals in the workplace, but they're not included. And so we've had experiences where people have shared that they're not able to meet with the stakeholders, for example, or they're not able to come to the meetings. And that's one thing that we do from day one, that our participants, they'll be in the meetings. They met Nish, they were there from that moment, because that's how they learn too. And that's how, they can start understanding, okay, this is somebody who we can trust, or what are we looking for? Or, is this a good business proposal? They learn all of that as well, but then they can share their own ideas and get recognized. And I think that's very important, that we have to recognize their ideas.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you this, you as an employer, I know you shared this story with me earlier, that story behind your logo and this amazing background you have. I love it. It is simple but elegant and so beautiful. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Well, when I started Spectrum Fusion, I knew we needed a logo. And so I went to a traditional company, and they were giving me, I didn't know I only had 3 options. And so one was a brain and a puzzle piece, but it didn't really resonate. And so I thought, okay, I was out of money, out of the, options. So, but I thought, wait a minute, I have this drawing that I really love, and I'm going to see if we can turn it into a logo. And we did. And so this was from a young woman in Australia, and she created this, and we turned this into our logo. And so that's our Spectrum Fusion logo. And then the one on the right, it's a young man, and he lives in Indiana, but he took this idea of the Reactor Room, where, it's this, how we always talk about this power and the energy, and how we came up with that name for fusion. That's another story. But then how we can see people growing, and how we see that they are, ready to take on new responsibilities as they continue in this process.
Beautiful. I know I wish there was more time, but I would love to now invite our special guest and have some conversation with them and their experience at Spectrum Fusion.
Okay, no, okay. Now they're not here. Okay, so
that's all right.
Okay, all right. Okay, here he comes. All right. The first young man is Philip Thomas, and Philip is our video editor. He actually is also he is creative in the editing, but he's also helping us with as a research assistant as well. But he's going to talk about the creativity.
Sure.
Okay, you want to sit here?
And Dr. Heidi, are you going to talk about the book, or I would like you know?
Reese is going to talk about the book.
Okay, beautiful. So,
yeah.
Okay, hi.
He said
Phil.
Here. Okay.
Hello, Phil. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Okay, so Phil, I know you have over 8 years of experience doing the video editing. And what I learned from you that video editing is complex. So tell us this complexity. How do you see the complexity? Number one, first question. And second is, how do you solve that? And how do you make it easy? Because I heard from you that it's easy once you figure that out. So tell us that complexity involved with video editing.
So I know that you wanted me in it, but I feel more comfortable just over here.
Okay.
Okay, so to answer the first question, one thing, editing is kind of like a very complicated process to go with. I mean, you just have to gather up all the footages that you need. We just need to figure out which ones are the best takes that you can have, of course. And there's some other things, just like maybe some other, there's some kind of like maybe some kind of like a outside, like glares, like cut off body parts, on the screen that we don't want to, include or something like that. We just want to try to make things a little bit professional. And that's the thing about editing. We just need to determine which one of these footages are the best in the taking, with the proper lighting, with the proper, postures. Okay. Okay.
It's an art and a science.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how about tools? I know you are using various tools, and some of the tools
yes,
are
definitely. It's one thing. There's so many tools in Premiere Pro that I'm using. Of course, there's kind of like there's the razor tool, which we can be able to cut, between footages. I mean, there's also several video transitions that we use, such as dissolves or maybe page peels. Okay, or maybe even fade in or fade outs. Okay. I mean, all these tools usually help out in making a great piece of film.
Yes, it is.
Excellent. Now, Dr. Heidi, would you like to invite Chris, and we can have that
okay.
It's actually Reese.
Yes.
Oh, Reese, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
It's in Australia, and that's the song that we want to talk about as well.
Oh, yes.
Right. Hello.
So, Reese, tell us a little bit about your song and your book and your creativity. We really admire your creativity. So share some of your great work with us.
Okay, so around Christmas time, my first book was called Tucker and the Christmas Train. It's about a little steam engine that longs to pull the famous Christmas train, like a little freight train that carries trees and presents to the mainland. But that was my first book. What's coming up is my second book, The Hungry Lady and the Bear. So that one is a little less holiday related, and it's more everyday, one that you can read anytime. So it's about this lady that is a bit of a carnivore. She's always trying to hunt down animals, but every time she tries to catch one, they manage to get away. And she bites off a bit more than she can chew when she goes after a bear. And there's a bit of a lesson about being cruel, and there is a solution to her, eating meat without harming animals. I don't want to spoil it, but it's a pretty clever method that I came up with, something pretty silly. I think people will get a kick out of.
So cool. So is there, how can we buy your book? Where can we find your book? If you have maybe URL you can read with our viewers, or otherwise we can always share that with attendees later if you have it handy.
Okay, so So you can find it on Orange Hat.
Okay.
Orange Hat is the publisher.
Okay.
So
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely. And we will. There we go. There is a text, and we will find and we will share that with our viewers later. So tell me a little bit about your journey on creativity side, and how how you are working with Spectrum Fusion and the Reactor Room. And that question is for Phil, you or you both, if you guys can share just anything you can think of.
All right. So with me, I was diagnosed when I was about 3, but I wasn't told myself until I was about 15. And once I learned about having autism, or Asperger's in my case, it was eye-opening. It was almost like an awakening. Like, I learned a little more about myself. And I began to learn about Asperger's and autism and what comes with it. I always found myself not liking, like, when plans change and whatnot. And that is a very common autism trait.
Yes.
So ever since I was a kid, I always came up with ideas for stories. I always wanted to be a filmmaker, and I wanted to do acting at first, but then I realized, now you have to memorize lines all the time and whatnot. So I decided to become a director instead, because that's where you really get to be creative. And I might have to be a producer too, so I can have a little creativity control, because you can't really do that in the film industry unless you throw a little bit of the cash in there yourself. Then you can call some of the shots. So that's
it. Love it, love it. That's the spirit. And wishing you all the best. And I know for sure that you will be, one day you will be a filmmaker and a director to filmmaker ultimately. And wishing you all the best. Will, any thoughts from your side?
Well, the thing is, I'm kind of like on the same page with Reese, of course. Like, I mean, usually, I mean, I just thought that maybe, concerned the fact that I'm just dealing with a little bit of autism, I mean, it's hard for me to explain to others what I really want to, what I really want to go for in the future. But I just realized that maybe just like being a filmmaker or something, like to help people explain their stories, is the only way that I can be able to get through. I mean, I joined it. Sorry about my stuttering. I joined the Spectrum Fusion in about 2018 over through an open position in Indeed.com. And I just realized that with my editing skills, I was able to help Spectrum Fusion in writing a little bit of a documentary for a certain organization called Houston Early Music. Okay. And of course, you know, among other things, such as creating showcase platform videos, you know, for other people who have autism, okay, and who want to reach out their stories to others.
Beautiful, beautiful, guys. Amazing. You guys are awesome. And I'm really looking forward for our project in the month of, April, and really looking forward for those amazing, creative, in some cases funny, in some cases professional videos. And we truly appreciate that you came and joined this conversation. I would like to invite Dr. Heidi, if we can wrap up. We are almost. Thank you. Yes.
So I do want to add. So we have an illustrator who is on the spectrum, but it doesn't live in Houston. She lives in Louisville, and she has created all of the illustrations for the hungry lady and the bear. Anyway, so she, through this connection with Orange Hat, the publisher was so impressed with all of her talent that they actually connected her to somebody else. And I don't want to spill the beans on that. So she has other projects coming as a result of that. So
see, that is a true reflection of
yeah, that's
awareness to acceptance, and this is how we share and spread this awareness and really create more opportunities for people on the spectrum. So Dr. Heidi, this was amazing conversation. Thank you for bringing that, and at the last part of the conversation, that amazing story, because this is true example, perfect example of how we can demonstrate their abilities, their creativity, and demonstrate that to the customers or employers, or to show to the world that the individuals on the spectrum, they can get the work done in a very creative way. So thank you. Any last words before we close?
Well, I do want to say that, thank you for this, but also I encourage other organizations to reach out to Spectrum Fusion Media to provide opportunities and to give adults on the autism spectrum a chance to create videos, to write, to use their talents, and as Phil says, to bring your stories to the world.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Heidi, again. And thank you, everyone, for joining today's session. We will continue this series and continue talking about autism awareness to inclusion and inclusion in the month of April. We will be inviting some of our champions, some of our partner employers, and share some of the success story with you on this platform in this series in the month of April. Till then, thank you so much again. Stay safe, healthy, and happy Autism Awareness or / Inclusion Month, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Heidi.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And thank you, Shamila. I really appreciate all the great work you do and help us communicate with the disability community. So thank you for all your great work. Thank you.